What's going on, YouTube? What's going on, Wayne Skis? It's your boy Wayne James. Y'all see my new setup, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Yo, we just got the fee fine XLR microphone, got the brand new amplifier, the audio mixer. So I can't just do this. Just listen to this. Listen to this. Listen to this.
What's going on, y'all? You know who the fuck I am. This is Wayne James, big boy. You know what I'm saying? Yo, listen to that, yo. If you don't like us, just if you don't subscribe to my shit, your toaster's gonna get burnt the fuck up. Nah, I fuck with
Nah, I'm fucking with y'all, yeah. But anyways, today, this is the most interesting cover up by your boy Flight Mike. It says the most embarrassing coaching search of the off season is over. This is for the New York Knicks. To the people like me, living in the Bronx, New York. To all everybody who lives in Manhattan, Soho, Lower Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, Uptown, White Plains, Harlem, 161. Let's get into this project. What the hell?
Hired as Sacramento's head coach in December after the Kings got off to a 13-18 start. Tom Thibodeau, who was fired after 5 seasons there, despite leading the Knicks to its first conference finals appearance since 2000. The Knicks expected to hire Mike Brown as their next head coach.
After firing Tom Thibodeau, the head coach that took the New York Knicks to their very first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years, the Knicks went through what might be the most humiliating coaching search in NBA history before finally making their decision. And when I say humiliating, I mean teams were literally hanging up on them mid-conversation and dropping F-bombs when the Knicks called asking for permission to interview their coaches. But before we get into all
Damn, why y'all hate on my team like that?
because this story is wild from
Damn,
start to
y'all
finish.
so
Before we get to the
hating about the
content, make
Knicks,
sure you
yo.
drop a
But
like
y'all
on
better
the
go
subscribe
vote for the
button
fucking
to get the
Celtics, right?
latest NBA news throughout the offseason. Nothing will stop
Typical
me from
people,
giving you
yo.
guys this NBA news, even though I was under the weather for the past couple of days. And thankfully feeling a lot better today, although my voice still feels a little off. We're also dropping updates on Instagram, TikTok, and X, so make sure you're followed on all of those pages in the description down below. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Hey, 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 hey. I fly like I'm MJ. I'm dunking like LeBron. Going through the hoop like Shaq. You can never pass the torch. I'm pushing you off like I'm Zion. Fuck that. I can't rap.
PrizePicks is giving us a free square until the 4th of July. All Joey Chestnut needs is to eat one hot dog for his square to hit. As a result of my brand new partnership with Fantasy Aces, we have been
Wait,
locking, like,
they do
my
FanDuel and Prize
Twitter.
Pick on people who eating hot dogs?
Watch link in the description down below. And if you haven't signed up for PrizePicks, make sure you use my promo code microphone to get a free $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. And thank you, PrizePicks, for today's sponsor. Mic check 1212. What's going on, everybody? Picture this. It's June 3rd, 2025. The New York Knicks just lost to the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. This was their deepest playoff run since the year 2000. Tom Thibodeau has a 226-174 record over 5 seasons as the New York Knicks head coach. He led the Knicks to back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since the 1990s and won 4 playoff series in 3 years. Any normal franchise that has gone through what the Knicks have gone through would consider building this man a statue. But the Knicks, they decided to fire him. And here's where it gets juicy.
Damn.
Born of Vincent Goodwill of
Everybody
the
celebrating, but
some
people, we
Knicks
had to
fans
respect him.
weren't thrilled with Tom Thibodeau, with his firing being spearheaded by owner James Dolan. Multiple players straight up said they couldn't play for Tibbs if he came back next season. We're talking about a full-on player mutiny, which is interesting because Jalen Brunson had this to say about Tom Thibodeau.
Tibbs is the reason why we have that mindset. Tibbs is the reason why we, night in and night out, we fight to the best of our abilities. and he makes sure that we have that mindset night in and night out. And so I think when it comes to us, we don't really care what the people on the outside think of us. We don't care what people say, positive or negative. We go forward with what we believe is the best course of action inside this building, inside the organization. I think the way that he has evolved is that his players in that locker room have his back no matter what.
And it honestly doesn't take a genius to figure out what the real truth here is. The breaking point was players were just straight up exhausted. The Knicks had 3 players in the NBA's top 10 for minutes played. Mikal Bridges was number 1, Josh Hart was 3rd, and Jalen Brunson was 4th. These dudes were playing 38 minutes a night like it was the 1990s. I mean, the signs were there. Mikal Bridges even went public with it back in March, saying sometimes it's not...
What the hell are you doing?
I'm folding clothes.
fun on the body. We've got a lot of good guys on this team that can take away the minutes, which helps the defense, helps the offense, and helps tired bodies being out there. And apparently James Dolan himself drove this decision. Sources say that he was never a huge Tibbs fan and personally conducted those exit interviews where players buried Tibbs. Despite Leon Rose in the front office wanting to keep him, Dolan had the final say. The craziest part was the Knicks still owed Tom Thibodeau $30 million on his contract extension that hadn't even kicked in yet, meaning that they're paying Tom Thibodeau just to do nothing at this point. And while the firing of Tom Thibodeau made sense, the head coaching search that ensued was straight up comedy. The Knicks had just made it to the conference finals. They're in New York. They got talent. Surely the top coaches in the NBA would be lining up for this job, right? Wrong. But a lot of that has to do with the methodology of the New York Knicks. The Knicks requested permission to interview 5 current NBA head coaches. And you know what happened? They got rejected by all 5 of them. I'm not talking about polite rejections either. Shams Charania went on the Rich Eisen show to give us an idea of how this all went down.
But out of the 5 rejections, some of the scenarios that I heard was teams would just hang up. They would say no and hang up. Maybe some profanity. Maybe there's some F no. In other situations, it's the owner calling the team and being the one to be like, you're not talking to our guy.
So Jason Kidd, Ime Udoka, Chris Finch, Quinn Snyder, and Billy Donovan all rejected the New York Knicks. Even college coaches wanted no part of this. Jay Wright said he was happily retired. Dan Hurley said he's not dealing with another summer of this, referring to what happened to him last summer as the Los Angeles Lakers pursued him. And Rick Pitino said that he was too old for this nonsense, which led to Charles Barkley giving us this gem right before Game 3 of the NBA Finals.
The Knicks got to be the stupidest damn people in the world. Like, you don't fire no good coach like that and don't have a plan. Tibbs did a hell of a job. Obviously, something's going on there, but you don't have a plan. The 3 coaches turn you down. You got to have a plan, man.
Which brings us to what the New York Knicks' eventual decision was. But before we get into their eventual coaching hire, we need to address the elephant in the room. There was a head coaching superstar available for the New York Knicks to hire. Michael Malone, the former Denver Nuggets head coach, was also available after getting fired in April 2025.
Wow.
This was the dream scenario for a lot of New York Knicks fans. Kendrick Perkins gave us his prediction about a month ago.
I mean, it might have to be Michael Malone. I mean, when you talk about championship experience, what other coaches out there? Michael Malone, he could go in, again, he's from the New York area. We go back to the point of, I don't know who they're going to hire. I think Michael Malone right now is probably the best fit if they're trying to win now, because he is the championship level coach, right? He did max out Jokic to get an NBA championship, so he does have what it takes.
But the New York Knicks decided to pass on Michael Malone, and I believe they made the right choice. And here's why. Michael Malone is an old school defense first, grinded out basketball head coach. The Nuggets under him were always a solid defensive team, but their offense relied heavily on Nikola Jokic's genius. Mike Brown is the guy who assisted the Golden State Warriors dynasty and created one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen with the Sacramento Kings. The Knicks need a modern offensive approach. And if you pay attention to why Michael Malone got fired, then it makes even less sense for the New York Knicks.
Malone runs hot and doesn't hide it. He publicly and privately took his team to task for poor defensive effort on several occasions throughout the season. But players grew tired of that explosive coaching style, finding his outbursts a stale method of getting through to them. According to multiple sources familiar with their thinking, Malone's intensity has the wrong effect on a large portion of the locker room. Yelling didn't resonate. Jokic was aware of the increasing frustrations and harbored some of his own.
Hire him. Michael Malone got fired because of his stern demeanor and constant criticism that wore thin on his players. Does that sound familiar? Because that's exactly why Tom Thibodeau got fired. ESPN reported that Malone's message wasn't landing and his brutal honesty was turning players off. The last thing the New York Knicks needed was another head coach who would just burn out the roster. If you pay attention to Michael Malone's past, he refused to play younger players and depended on older veterans. His rotations weren't as deep as they could have been. He wouldn't give opportunities to newly drafted Nuggets talent, and that led to him butting heads with his general manager, which eventually resulted in him getting fired, even though he was the head coach of a 2023 champion team. But that aside, I think the most crucial part was Michael Malone was fired just days before the playoffs started and reportedly was not calm about it. My guess is he's still processing that situation and might have some baggage, and if you just paid attention to the way he was commentating on the Denver Nuggets during the playoffs, that seems very evident. Brown has been available since December and has had time to reflect on what went wrong in Sacramento and is ready for a fresh start. But also, if you pay attention to Mike Brown's track record with star guards, I mean, this is a guy that coached Kyrie Irving, was the assistant coach for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and maximized De'Aaron Fox and turned him into an all-star and clutch player of the year winner. He was the result of Malik Monk's greatest season in the NBA. Michael Malone butted heads with multiple guards over the years, and his rigid system doesn't always accommodate different player personalities. The Knicks needed someone who can implement a modern offense and manage egos without being overly harsh, while also maximizing Jalen Brunson's potential. And Mike Brown checks off all those boxes. Michael Malone would have been another Tom Thibodeau, successful in the short term but ultimately wearing his players down. So after getting curved by literally everyone with a pulse, the Knicks finally found their man in Mike Brown, who had just been fired by the Sacramento Kings in late December. Now,
Damn.
So
we all know about that.
Mike Brown, but the guy is still a two-time Coach of the Year winner in 2009 with Cleveland and 2023 with Sacramento, and he won it unanimously, which makes him the first head coach to ever do that. He's got a 455-304 record.
Damn.
He's made the playoffs in 7 out of 9 full seasons and has 4 championship rings as an assistant with the Spurs and Warriors. You have to respect Mike Brown's exposure to true legends of basketball. I mean, he worked as an assistant under Greg Popovich. He was an assistant for Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. He coached LeBron James in the earlier part of his career. He coached Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol.
R.I.P. to Kobe.
He technically coached Steve Nash and Dwight Howard as well before getting fired during that 2013 season. He was an assistant for Steve Kerr and had exposure to Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. If there's one thing he has, it is experience. And what he was able to achieve with the Sacramento Kings is probably his most impressive coaching feat by far. He took the Sacramento Kings, who hadn't made the playoffs in 17 years, and immediately got them to 48 wins and the 3rd seed in the West. The Kings had the #1 offense in the entire NBA under Brown, averaging 120.7 points per game. And the reason he got fired, in my opinion, was just a hunk of baloney. The Kings started this season 13-18, but the real issue was how they were losing. They were blowing massive leads night after night, and the final straw came against the Detroit Pistons on December 26th. Sacramento was up in this game by 19 points and led by 16 in the 4th quarter, and somehow found a way to lose on a game-winning 4-point play by Jaden Ivey with 3 seconds left. And the way it happened just gave you an idea about the dynamic between De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown. The Kings are up by 3. The Pistons have the ball, and instead of fouling to prevent a 3-point attempt, De'Aaron Fox let Jaden Ivey get a clean look from behind the arc, and not only did Ivey make the shot, but Fox fouled him in the process, giving Detroit the game-winning 4-point play. Mike Brown was heated after the game. He called out the team's failure to execute and specifically criticized Fox's defense on that play.
If you're up 3, you gotta guard your man at the 3-point line. There should be no closeout opportunity. No closeout opportunity. We told them that they know the only thing that can hurt us is a 3. You should be hugged up to your man at the 3-point line.
I ordered 200 hand-forged knives in my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them.
Everybody should. And why there was a closeout by Fox, I'm not sure.
Meanwhile, Fox seemed fairly apathetic about what he did.
What did you see on the final play with the corner 3 from Jaden Ivey there?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to make anybody feel
show better self.
But here's the twist. Fox and Brown actually had a great relationship. Fox told ESPN that me and Mike have never even had an argument. We could disagree on something, we talked about it, and it was gone. In fact, De'Aaron Fox reportedly lobbied the organization to give Mike Brown that extension during the summer. According to sources, management was growing tired of Brown's stern demeanor in press conferences and his public criticism of players. They felt like his coaching style was beginning to wear on some players, even though the players themselves weren't consulted on the firing decision. ESPN reported that just 3 weeks before he was fired, Brown and Fox had a heart-to-heart conversation where Brown told Fox he could become one of the best two-way players ever at his position, but he needed to keep pushing himself. Fox was reportedly completely fine with the tough love approach. The firing came just hours after Brown led a normal practice on December 27th. Players found out while sitting on a plane to Los Angeles. Nobody saw it coming, and Fox was so disgusted by the decision that he immediately told management that I'm not going to play for another coach. I'm going to play for another team. And that's how De'Aaron Fox ended up getting traded to San Antonio. And when Brown got fired, the entire coaching fraternity went to bat for him.
Very disappointed to hear the news. Mike is a great friend, great coach. You know, we all kind of know this is the nature of the business, but it just seems so shocking.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Mike Brown got fired because I got fired by the same person. No class, no balls. That's what I'll say about that.
And I'm just
no
shocked
class,
that,
no balls.
That decision was made. You look at the job that
Rick
he did
Carlisle
and the turnaround that they had, and it's just really hard to believe that this decision was made.
But also, Mike Malone may have a personal vendetta against the Sacramento Kings. So what are the Knicks getting in Mike Brown? Well, Mike Brown has always coached by a 3-pillars philosophy, according to himself. The first is you got to be selfless. You have to have a team-first mentality. The second is you have to be connected. You have to form strong relationships and communicate with one another. The third is you have to be accountable, meaning that he's going to hold you to a high standard, and there will be consequences for not meeting that standard. On defense, he's old school. This man will call a timeout 30 seconds into a game if he sees bad defense. He'll bench anybody for not hustling back. De'Aaron Fox said Brown used to text him grades.
I feel like that's what we need in our what's that shit called again? Hold on, I gotta fix it. I think this is what we need in our offense and our defense's playbook, because I feel like it was difference between Tom Thibodeau and Mike Brown is that Tom Thibodeau tires their players. Like, literally, you gave them more minutes just to wear them. Like, you ever seen it in the NBA Finals? I mean, in the Eastern Conference Finals, where they was tired as fuck. Like, they gave up so much plays and so much defense. Like, they felt like they was exhausted. They could have won that game if they would have been up like 3-1. They could have did that. I feel like they need some more resourcement, like balance. You know what I'm saying?
After every practice and shoot around. That's the type of accountability we're talking about. But here's how he's different from Tom Thibodeau. Brown actually believes in pace and space offense. In Sacramento, he let his players cook, and they led the league in offensive rating at 118.6, which was the highest since the NBA started tracking it. He's not trying to grind out 89 to 86 games like.
But we will definitely gonna miss Tom Thibodeau. I ain't gonna lie though, we blaming on that dude, yo. We blaming this nigga, bro.
Heavy system is exactly what Brunson thrives in. Plus, Brown has experience maximizing point guards. Look at what he did with De'Aaron Fox. Fox made his first All-Star team and won Clutch Player of the Year under Brown. Karl Anthony Towns shoots 40% from 3. Now, could you imagine that in Brown's pace and space system? That's going to be perfect. Plus, Towns won't have to be the primary playmaker like he was in Minnesota. He can just focus on being a floor spacing monster. Josh Hart fits in perfectly because Brown loves versatile players who can do everything. Hart's motor and basketball IQ are exactly what Mike Brown values. Plus, Brown actually uses his bench, so Hart won't have to play 40 minutes a night every single night until his legs fall off. For Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, these are two elite 3-and-D wings in a modern NBA system. Mike Brown is probably doing backflips at the idea of these two. These are exactly the type of switchable defenders who can also space the floor that Brown's system needs. Now, the only question mark might be Mitchell Robinson. Robinson can't shoot, which doesn't really fit the spacing philosophy, but Mike Brown's creative, and he can run some nasty defensive lineups with Robinson and Towns together. Behind closed doors, Brown was the only candidate to get multiple interviews. He met with Leon Rose, the front office, and had to get James Dolan's personal approval. That's right, James Dolan wanted to look Mike Brown in the eyes before giving the green light. So what sealed the deal? Well, a few things and some connections that Brown had. Mike Brown is connected to Worldwide Wes. They go back to when Brown coached LeBron in Cleveland. His championship pedigree definitely helped. 4 rings as an assistant isn't anything to sneeze at. His track record of quick turnarounds. He ended Sacramento's 17-year playoff drought in 1 season.
Yeah.
And he also interviewed with the Knicks in 2020 and reportedly made a strong impression. You guys have to understand that Knicks have had 14 different head coaches in the last 25 years. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the Knicks coaching staff? Well, as far as we know, Jalen Brunson's dad, Rick, is expected to stay on the coaching staff. And so far, the only response we got from Knicks players was just an eye emoji by Jalen Brunson. There haven't been any public endorsements and no excitement tweets. But his former players have been singing his praises. Domantas Sabonis said that Mike Brown put me in a position to succeed and gave me a lot of confidence. But there are still some concerns. Mike Brown does bring modern offensive concepts from his Warriors days, defensive discipline without grinding players into dust, experience in handling superstar egos because he's coached LeBron, Kobe, Steph, and KD, and a track record of turning around struggling franchises, but there are still some concerns. Throughout his career, Mike Brown has always been criticized for his inability to make in-game adjustments. He's known to be a better assistant head coach than a head coach. His stern demeanor exhausted some Kings players over time, and there's a question of whether or not he can handle the New York media circus. So the bottom line is this: Mike Brown is walking into one of the toughest situations in the NBA. He's replacing a coach who's just had the most success in 25 years, but got fired anyway. He's working for an impatient owner in James Dolan, who's proven that he'll fire anybody. And he's coaching in New York, where every move is scrutinized. And this is something that Mike Brown is very familiar with, because this is a coach that got fired after 4 games for trying to install the Princeton offense for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2013 season, and then eventually got fired after only winning 1 out of his 4 games. But here's the one thing we learned from this whole saga: it's that the Knicks' biggest enemy isn't the Celtics or the Cavs, it's themselves. They fired a successful head coach with no plan, and they got embarrassed by the entire league. And they ended up with Mike Brown not because he was their first choice, but because he was literally one of the only qualified coaches available. Will Mike Brown be the one to finally break the Knicks championship drought, or will he just be another name on the long list of coaches chewed up and spit out by James Dolan's dysfunction? One thing's for sure, with this roster, in this market, with these expectations, Mike Brown better have a plan. Because if the Knicks don't make serious noise in the playoffs next year, man, we might be right back here making another video about the New York Knicks conducting another coaching search. So if you're a New York Knicks fan, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about this brand new hiring? Do you like the fact that the Knicks hired Mike Brown, or did you want them to hire somebody else? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I don't know if you guys heard, but this MLB All-Star just ruined his life in the most disgusting way possible. We have a complete
Wait, what?
Ruined his life in
Rays Wander Franco found guilty. You sick mother. Oh, he's EDP.
the most disgusting way possible.
Oh,
We're giving away jerseys
damn, bro.
Subscriber that turns on our notifications there. I'm gonna leave a link to it in the end screen.
I bet you that girl lied about her. I think a girl lied about her age. She was like in 1890. She like 1920, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm telling you, you gotta be careful with them shits, yo. I'm telling y'all.